today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it.
All right, top of the hour on this Wednesday. Good morning to you from NewsNation Live in Chicago. I'm Marni Hughes. We've got some brand new comments at this hour from President Trump on Truth Social, saying that President Zelenskyy of Ukraine did a terrible job and has failed so far to bring peace 3 years after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This is happening at a critical time. The U.S. Special Envoy to Ukraine and Russia is in Kyiv now, following days of talks between Moscow and Washington. The focus so far is on normalizing relations and ending the war in Ukraine. Among those there, Keith Kellogg, part of the U.S. envoy, arriving in Ukraine ahead of talks with President Zelenskyy. Zelenskyy is refusing to accept a deal where his country is not an equal partner in the negotiating. Kellogg saying this on that matter.
We understand the need for security guarantees. We understand the important sovereignty of this nation.
President Zelenskyy says President Trump is living in a Russian disinformation space after Trump's comments this week, including an apparent jab at Zelenskyy's legitimacy as a leader.
Well, we have a situation where we haven't had elections in Ukraine, where we have martial law, or essentially martial law in Ukraine, where the leader in Ukraine, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's down at 4% approval rating.
I want to bring in NewsNation's Kelly Meyer. She is live in Washington. And Kelly, I'm reading through President Trump's most recent comments this morning on Truth Social. He even alleges that President Zelenskyy played President Biden like a fiddle and took a lot of America's money without receipts, and some of that money is missing. So as we dive through this so far, what else is he saying, and what sort of ripple is this going to have in the ongoing talks?
Yeah, and it's interesting. This is just the latest in this back and forth, this ping pong between Zelenskyy and Trump. It really has been going on for a bit here, but really kind of escalated yesterday with Zelenskyy saying that he wasn't invited to those talks between the U.S. and Russia and Saudi Arabia. Trump then in his press conference saying that he heard Ukraine saying that he wasn't invited and he could have ended this all 3 years ago before Russia invaded and made a deal. Zelenskyy responded to that this morning by saying that Trump was living in this, quote, disinformation space. And now we're here to this latest Truth Social post just moments ago from President Trump, really lashing out at the Ukrainian president, saying that he is a dictator without elections. He says Zelenskyy better move fast or he is not going to have a country left. He also says that Zelenskyy admits that half of the money we sent him is, quote, missing. He refuses to have elections, is very low in Ukrainian polls, and the only thing he was good at was playing Biden like a fiddle, like you were just saying, Marni. So a lengthy Truth Social post really showing this latest fallout between the Ukrainian president and the U.S. president, as relations between the U.S. and Russia seem to be going much more smoothly after those discussions yesterday in Saudi Arabia. They agreed to work together to end this conflict. I wanted to play a bit for you on what President Trump had to say last night about Ukraine, and we could talk a bit more about this on the other side.
You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down. But they chose not to do it that way.
Marni, we really don't know where this will go from here. President Zelenskyy is meeting with Trump's Ukraine envoy, Keith Kellogg, today in Ukraine. Zelenskyy has said he wants to take him to the front lines, so they may have discussions of their own. But it also comes as the U.S. and Russia communications will continue. There was even talk yesterday of working together on geopolitical and economic communications as well between the U.S. and Russia. So that could potentially mean limiting some sanctions on Russia that have been placed over the last few years during this invasion. This is as Europe is increasing their sanctions and just announced another package on Russia today. So it seems like it's becoming this divide between Europe and Ukraine on one side, and then it seems as though right now the U.S. and Russia agreeing on the other side. So it remains to be seen where this goes from here, Marni.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.